Welcome to Boston Talks and Beyond. I am your host, Joe Lee. In a recent interview, I sat down with Josh Kraft, a candidate for mayor of Boston. We explored his vision for the city, his policy priorities, and how he plans to tackle the challenges facing Boston residents. My goal is to give you a closer look at the candidate, his passion, his personality, and his commitment to public service. Let's dive in. Mr. Josh Kraft, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for your interest, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure, yeah, sure. Thank you. And we're glad to meet you here and to speak with you about the candidate or candidates for mayor of Boston. We know, the preliminary election will be early September.
Yeah, September
less
9th.
than less than a month, and then the general final election in early November. So, as a candidate, I have some questions from me or from my audience too. So there's about several questions. I will start with general with you. So with the four candidates right now, right? I think you are the 2 of 4 from order.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you have made it today. And with all staff working so hard, and appreciate it, your service and your heart. So my first question is, why should we elect you for mayor of Boston over your opponents?
Thank you, Joe. So everywhere I go throughout the city, any neighborhood, regardless of socioeconomics, race, ethnicity, language, or religion, I hear the same thing. People do not feel listened to or connected to their city government. And Boston, the hallmark of Boston mayoral administrations has always been connection to the mayor, to the people in the communities. Right now, people don't feel that connection. And my campaign and my administration will be driven by 4 key tenets: accountability, accessibility, transparency, and competent fiscal management. And most importantly, to achieve all that, we're always going to be neighborhood facing and neighborhood based. We are going to be about the residents of the city, because in the end, they're our boss. I, as the mayor, report to each resident of the city, and I need to be accountable to them. Right now, they're not getting that. Under my administration, that's what they'll get: accountability and accessibility, because I am accountable to every resident of the city. I work for them. That's why I'm the best candidate.
Thank you. I like the words that the voter or the resident will be the boss, not the government.
Right, exactly.
Thank you. And my next question could be a little bit tougher. How do you convince the middle class who may think that you are kind of more liberal than your opponents?
Well, I can give you a couple of examples why I'm not. First example, I was at a community meeting, and there was a young man there in his early 30s, and he said, "I'm a Republican. Why should I vote for a Democrat for mayor?"
Exactly.
And I said, here's why. A mayor is not like a senator or a congressperson or even a governor. A mayor is not about political ideology. A mayor is about getting things done for the residents of the city. And that will always be priority number 1 for me. To me, it's not about political ideology. It's about getting things done for the residents. And that's why I'll always focus on the middle class as well. We know that right now, middle class people cannot afford housing in the city of Boston. And we're going to create a first-time home buyer program that includes working families. Because right now, working families make too much money to qualify for a home buyer program, but not enough to buy a home on their own. We're gonna increase the eligibility so more middle class and working families can buy a home through our first time home buyer program. But in the end, convincing the middle class, it's not about political ideology, it's about getting things done for you. Like the first question I answered, you're all my boss. I'm here to work for you.
That's great. I know right now the Boston population getting more rapidly grows, especially the young couples, young generations. They're looking for opportunities in the city, and they try to looking for nearby, housing or something like that. That's perfect. Fine, you can find the solutions, attract more builders and developers to come to be able to build more affordable housing, etc., etc. What's your plan of drawing those developers and builders? They can build more affordable housing.
Right now, we know that there's 26,000 units of permanent housing that's ready to be built in the city of Boston. It's permanent, 26,000 units, but it's too expensive to build because of the rules and regulation of the current administration. So our first day in office, we're gonna jumpstart all those projects so we could start, and we're gonna make them more affordable for people to build and build more housing in the city of Boston. Because these projects right now, the rules and regulation under Mayor Wu make it too difficult and too expensive to build these projects. And with them comes $125 million of tax revenue with all these 26,000 units. That's how we'll fund our first-time home buyer program for working people as well.
Good. I know a lot of homeowners, and some of them immigrant, and they working hard, and they bought quite a few houses, and they can make some livings out of it, and they complain that sometimes about the rental control. I know the rental control, we're talking about back and forth from different administrations, from different generations. Right now we do not have the rental control, but for those hardworking people, who have owned different unit or houses around Boston area, so what you can talk to them, say, hey, we're gonna impose some kind of rental control, and we control your rent.
We have a rent control program, but legislatively, government mandated rent control will never be approved, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We have a rent control program that we developed with housing advocates, landlords, and developers. And this is how it works. If a landlord opts into our rent control program and commits to keeping their rent at minimal increases over 10 years, they get a 20% tax rebate every year. So the renters get a lower rent and the landlord gets a 20% tax rebate.
So those have like a threshold to qualify, or they can voluntarily opt in?
The landlord or the renter?
The landlord.
Yeah, the landlord can voluntarily opt in. So if nobody opts in, we don't do the program. But we already have one landlord that owns 600 units in the city. They ran the numbers and they said they would do it.
For like owners, they have 20 or less unit for rent.
Yeah, we would
renting.
still, they could qualify.
They still qualify.
They still qualify.
And I look at your campaign website. Your proposal is that look at the consumer prime index.
Yeah, CPI.
Plus CPI and plus 5%.
Not to exceed 10%.
10%. My next question is talk about what's your plan for addressing homelessness in Boston, such as Mass and Cass?
So our plan for Mass and Cass is recovery first. We want to create a campus called the Recover Boston Campus, which will be housing but it'll emphasize recovery, support for those struggling with mental illness. And then as they move along and progress down their recovery path, they'll start to get the basics of owning a home and basics to living a stable life. So this proposal was presented, I think, 3.5 years ago by a number of businesses in Newmarket and some of the community stakeholders. They presented this Recover Boston campus. It was, nobody took it up. We think it works. And we also, I think it's $10 million to $12 million a year to operate. And we know that mass incarceration is not a Boston problem, it's a regional problem. So we're going to engage the state, we're going to engage community stakeholders and other municipalities, and everybody's going to have skin in the game, and everybody's going to contribute to this Recover Boston campus. And we'll place it somewhere in greater Boston. And I've actually spoke to a leader of a neighboring town that has a site potentially for it.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
but in addition, I also want to say part of our mass and cast plan is the people in the neighborhoods like the South End, Back Bay, Nubian Square, Andrews Square.
Yeah.
We're no longer going to let disorder impact their quality of life. Too many people walk their kids to school and see people using drugs, see people sleeping on their doorsteps. We're going to work proactively with police. We're not going to turn a blind eye to those behaviors, but those people, we're going to push to services over sentences for them. We're not going to push them to jail. Again, we're going to push them into services, recovery services, mental health services. One other quality of life issue is needles everywhere. You know, a little boy stepped on one. They're everywhere. I've seen them everywhere.
Yes, I can see it
We
on
did,
the news.
there was a program that was cut last summer,
Yeah.
a needle buyback program, and they had collected 770,000 needles. And the program was cut last summer. Might have been state funding, I don't know. But we would reinstitute that program, and we have some private funders who have expressed interest in funding the program. Right.
Okay, my last question. And what is your long-term plan if you are not elected this year in November general election?
Well, my plan is to be elected in the November general election. I can tell you that. And if I'm not elected, I'll continue to do what I've done my whole life, community work.
That's conclude my interview, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. I hope you the best luck.
Thank you for your time and your questions, and thank you.
And your team.
Thank NT Development for your sponsorship. NT Development is a well-known real estate development company based in Massachusetts, USA, with 15 years of experience focusing on development and construction in the core Boston market. For more information, please scan the QR code at the lower right corner.